I'm Victoria Cooksey, and today we're going to be making vegan gingerbread cake. Now obviously if you're vegan, this one's for you, but maybe you need to avoid dairy or eggs and it's going to work out as well. Get ahead step. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees for at least 20 to 30 minutes when that's nice and hot. Get a 9-inch springform pan, put a little oil, rub that on, then put your parchment paper on top of that, but leave the parchment plain then. Get one bag of organic ginger tea and steep it for 5 minutes. Then let it cool completely, and then you're also going to melt the coconut oil for this recipe and then let it cool down. That way it'll be all ready to go. All right, now I'm going to have you come closer and I'm going to show you how to put it all together. For the dry ingredients, you're going to sift 1 3/4 cup organic all-purpose flour, and while you're doing that, add a teaspoon of ground ginger, a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/4 teaspoon of cardamom. You're also going to put in 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And those are going to be your leaveners for this cake. And then just go ahead and finish sifting that in. And even though you've sifted it, we're also going to whisk it, and into that we're going to put 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 7 tablespoons of organic granulated cane sugar. And when you're making this recipe, if you're doing the vegan route, you've got to go with organic for the sugar. And then you're just going to whisk that all together and then set it aside, and I'll show you the wet ingredients next. For the wet ingredients, we're going to start with a 1/3 cup of organic molasses, and you want to make sure it's organic if you're going the vegan route. To that, I'm going to add 2/3 cup of the cool down ginger tea, 5 tablespoons of melted unrefined coconut oil, 2 teaspoons of organic vanilla extract, and 1 1/2 teaspoons of organic apple cider vinegar. And you're going to stir this together. At first the molasses will you'll feel that stickiness, but as you stir it, that really breaks up. And once it feels like it's like a really thin mixture, then you know you're done whisking. When it comes time to mix the wet ingredients with the dry, you want to do this right when it's ready to go in the oven. Because with your baking soda, the minute it touches the liquid and the acid, it's going to start activating it. With the baking powder, again, when it touches the liquid, it starts, and then the heat of the oven finishes it off. So make sure your pan's ready to go, oven's preheated before you put the liquid to the dry. I'm just going to pour that in. Now, if you're used to making classic normal cakes, okay, you don't want to stir too much because you don't want to develop the gluten. But vegan cakes are just a little bit different because a little bit of gluten development actually helps the structure. So don't feel like you can't whisk this too much. You can whisk it a bit. Where normally I'd say regular cake, stop there, but with this I can go a little bit farther. And what I try to do is I want to make sure it doesn't look like oily right in the center of it. So just kind of whisk till it looks pretty even. And this is ready to go into the pan. Okay, now we're going to pour this into your prepared pan. Just use a spatula to do that. Just make sure you really scrape to get all that out. Then, because this is sticky, you wouldn't be able to spread it out to even it, so you're just going to kind of do a little shake. Couple bags out. Put it on a light colored cookie tray, and then we're going to put this in the oven for 35 minutes. And it's very important, keep the door shut the entire 35 minutes, because vegan cakes, they need to develop their structure. They're a little bit more fragile. If you open the door too soon, it can cause it to sink a bit, so we want that structure to set. So 35 minutes in the oven, then take it out. I'm going to let the cake cool in the pan for 15 minutes. That's going to, again, complete setting the structure, and it's also going to let the cake be cool enough to handle. After 15 minutes, just run a little knife around the edge of the cake if you need to, and then you can use a cooling rack or a plate to kind of flip it upside down, take the parchment paper off, and then flip it back. Right side up to cool, but do be sure to be careful because vegan cakes are a little bit more fragile, so just take your time with that. But 15 minutes in the pan and then out to finish cooling so it doesn't get too sticky. Got the cake out of the pan. parchment paper's off, and now all we have to do is just let this cake cool completely, which isn't that the roughest part about baking? The waiting. Luckily you don't have to wait, because in a second I'll be right back to you. I've just dusted our vegan gingerbread cake with a little bit of organic powdered sugar. Now you can serve it plain, you could serve it with powdered sugar, you could drizzle it with vegan dark chocolate, you could serve it with vegan ice cream, or do a little spiced whipped coconut cream, or, you know, put all of them on if you're having one of those days, but I'm just going to stick to the powdered sugar. Look below this video for how to find me on Instagram. You can also find the recipe below, so in case you missed your measurement, it'll be there. And let me know if you made the cake and what you thought. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.